Welcome to Meganet Gaming, and today's review is going to be on the adventures of Willy Beamish. This is both the SegaCD and the PC version. The difference between the two is that the PC version lacks the voice acting and has a bit dated graphics compared to the SegaCD version, but I will be demonstrating both. I also played the Amiga version as well. However, as far as the gameplay goes, there's not enough of a difference to change the total outcome of the review. As well, I've abandoned the 1 to 10 system, and I'm just putting things as good, very good, there's average, below average. The bottom games, and then there's two different tiers of highly recommended games. So alright, we'll go ahead and pull up the MS-DOS version first. This is a point-and-click adventure by Sierra. Alright, so you have the typical graphic adventure charm from the time. This was developed by Dynamics, published by Sierra Online, and it was directed by Jeff Tunell, programmed by Louis McCready, and a variety of writers and composers took part in this project. It's a single-player game involving 9-year-old Willy Beamish, and he's kind of the late 80s, early 90s bratty middle class child. Upper middle class, I should say. And he's passionate about video games. He's a bit of a troublemaker. He has a pet frog named Horny. Gets himself locked in detention, and you start by him to sneak out of detention or find a way out. Or you could just let detention pass, but you can't get in trouble in the meantime. Go home. You want to practice with your Atari console so you can make it to the Atari World Championships. But during this time, you find out that your father's been fired and there's a grand conspiracy, which you're first told about by the ghost of your grandfather. Anyways, the plot progresses on, and eventually you end up infiltrating a sludge processing plant, rescuing your father and defeating the bad guys that are the stereotypical cartoonish corporate bad guys that just pollute the environment, poison the food, and cause general late 80s, early 90s cartoon destruction to the environment, because that's what corporations do. And the game has a lot of charm, I'll tell you that. But the DOS version and SegaCD version both have a lot of charm. And I'll go ahead and pull up the SegaCD version just so you can see the graphical differences. There's some adult-oriented humor in the game, but nothing that's so grotesque or just sexually explicit to the point where this would be anything more than maybe at most a PG-13 type experience. And to be honest, how many people younger than that are really playing point-and-click adventure games? This is one of the better games in the SegaCD library, but it's definitely not one of the top tier games in that library. And that is a library filled with lots of full motion video games that are comedically bad, but entertaining as a result. They're bad but comedically good, I should say. And this is a classic that is pretty well adapted to the platform. The original was simple enough where using a 3-button controller and a D-pad doesn't really take too much away from the gameplay experience. Now, I would say if you have a choice between either one, I like the SegaCD version because of the voice acting and animations. It helps with immersion. But anyway, the end goal is to make it to the Atari Championships. Yet in the meantime, there is a lot of other side activities of varying degrees of importance. At the time, this was quite the commercial hit as far as adventure games go. And if you enjoy point-and-click adventure games, including ones that rely on kind of comedic elements and are light-hearted, this is a good one to check out. It does have the many ways to fail and get an end game, the end screen. Many of which you don't really anticipate until you've played through and actually picked the wrong action or dialogue. It'd be most people's first inclination to sneak out of the classroom when the teacher is sleeping. But once you're out in the hallway, you can't go back in the classroom. But once you're out in that hallway, chances are I'm pretty sure about every option, if not every option actually, results in you going to the office and getting sent to military school. There are a variety of endings, being sent to military school, and ending up in the hospital, getting horrible medical treatments that are extremely invasive and excessive, are two of the earliest ones you'll find out. So, anyway, that's pretty much all there is for the plot. And the gameplay is point-and-click, adventure style. And the dialogue options don't really have much depth to them for the most part. You're kind of stuck with 3 options, one being the correct one, another 2 having varying degrees of issues with them. And for the most part, if you don't choose the exact right path through the game, you're going to end up having to start over from your last save. Which I don't really find that to be a fun style of gameplay. It's one thing with a first-person shooter or an action platformer to keep getting sent back to the beginning of a level until you master it, or even a rogue style game. But with a plot-driven, narrative-heavy game, it'd be like getting to a certain point in a movie. It asks you what the next part of the movie is going to be about. You pick the wrong choice and then the movie rewinds 30 minutes. Nobody would actually do that experience. And in a game setting, it's really not all that fun. But if you just wanted to enjoy the story, it's an average story. It's cute, but it's not something I'd want to replay over and over. So at the end of the day, what you have here is a fun, lighthearted, point-and-click adventure game in a world that's full of point-and-click as well as other more modern styles of adventure games that are much better. If I was looking for an adventure game, I prefer things that are with a lot more substance than this one. But it's silly and kind of funny at times. you love adventure games and you want something more lighthearted, this is definitely an option that's worth choosing. But otherwise, there's much better games out there. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in the average tier of games. If you enjoy the genre, go ahead and pick it up. And if you don't enjoy the genre, or you like more serious games within the genre, it's easily skippable. But it had a fan base, continues to have a fan base. And like I said, I would pick the Sega CD or Amiga version over the PC version if that's an option. But all three of them play generally the same and have the same content. Just a matter of slight variations in graphics and the presence or lack of voice acting. Hope you enjoyed the review. Please like, subscribe, and have a great day.